Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. When it comes to food, Vermont has a reputation, a very good reputation. Our milk, maple, and cheeses are known around the world. And now Vermont wants to build the same reputation for its food systems education. The Vermont Higher Education Food Systems Consortium is comprised of 7 colleges that have come together to collaborate on food and farm education. The group's newest effort is an intensive 3-week course in June called the Vermont Food Systems Summer Study Tour. To find out more, I'm joined by Philip Ackerman Leist, who is a professor of environmental studies at Green Mountain College in Poultney. He's also the director of the college's Farm and Food Project. Also with me is Paul Costello, who is the executive director of the Vermont Council on Rural Development. He's also the coordinator of the Food Systems Summer Study Tour. Thanks so much to both of you for coming in. Paul, maybe we can start out talking about what the Vermont Higher Education Food Systems Consortium is.
Well, thanks so much for having us on. The Higher Education Food Systems Consortium is really the leadership team of all the schools in Vermont that have agricultural programs, food system study courses. We have a rich variety of different higher education coursework. We have great leadership at all these different schools. And over time we've come to say, you know, if we work as a team, we're going to do a better job potentially sharing students, sharing courses, sharing conferences, sharing information, and marketing together to say that Vermont has together a panoply of experiences that are available to students that's unique in the nation. Our food system is leading in so many areas, from cheese to dairy to breweries these days, in terms of all the expansion that's going forward. And together we can tell that story in a way to attract the younger folks to Vermont to participate in the educational programs that directly connect to entrepreneurism in the state and can celebrate Vermont. Some of those students may stay and be the next generation's leading businesses, and others, across the country, as we share this story, may become consumers of Vermont products. So we see it as a win-win, and by working together, the schools can add things up between themselves and also market more effectively nationally for students.
Well, I think this is really interesting, is each of the schools that are participating have a particular strength. And so you've been able to combine that so that, it's a really great experience for whoever wants to take advantage of this. Mm-hmm. So what's the ultimate goal?
Well, the ultimate goal, I think, is we're in a time of competition for students. We're in a time where, the baby boom bubble is ending. There's going to be potentially fewer students nationally. And we want to share the uniqueness of Vermont and attract more students to Vermont. But we also want to educate them on the unique role and activity in the Vermont food systems. We're doing stuff that is supporting the sustainability of society into the future, that can model growth in this area for the whole country.
It's interesting because nationally this has become such a hot topic, and yet it sort of always has been here in Vermont.
Yeah, we've got a great story to tell. We've got a great brand. And together these schools are going to work to share that story and expand their programs and be successful in meeting the needs of students nationally.
Well, let's talk about some of the details of the Food Systems Summer Study Tour. What's that all about, Philip?
Well, I'm really excited about it because it's approaching food systems, from a kind of a geographical base and really looking at what's happening around the state in different places. Mm-hmm. We're tackling it also from each institution and what's happening there, and really kind of what niche and pedagogical approach the institutions have. So that's a really exciting piece. And then also looking at food systems from a very multidisciplinary perspective. Mm-hmm.
And so let's maybe go through some of the schools that are involved.
Sure, great. So we have University of Vermont, UVM, which I think many argue is one of the best land-grant institutions here in the country. And the first stop will be UVM, looking at soils and systems and really building an urban food system from the ground up. That's what we're trying to tackle there. So it's really exciting to be there, and we'll actually loop back around to UVM at the end, and I'll talk about that. Sterling College, we'll be talking about profit from pasture, and we've got the artisan cheese, rural revitalization. Really, how does a rural community sort of pull itself up by its bootstraps, mm-hmm. and looking at the techniques that they've used there. And then with Vermont Tech, we'll be following what we call the carbon trail. So looking at carbon throughout the cycle, particularly with regard to dairy. So this will really give the students a good sense of what's happening in Vermont with the dairy farms. And then we'll be moving on to the Vermont Law School, and we'll be talking about food system advocacy, and we'll be working there quite a bit in looking at the genetic engineering, GMO labeling, and how that's transpired, and also where that's headed. Mm-hmm. And then we'll move to my home turf at Green Mountain College, and we'll be looking at conservation, and we'll be looking at conservation from the angles of biodiversity, land, energy, and then also water quality.
Huge issue.
Yeah, that one's big right now. And then Middlebury will be wrapping up there, and we're really using Middlebury's international perspective and expertise to look not just at Vermont, but how what we're doing here in Vermont fits within a national and international perspective. And one of the beauties of this is that throughout this, we'll be looping back to UVM, as I said, for the UVM Food Summit, which brings people together not only from across the nation, but also from around the world this year, and looking at the right to food. And so we'll be there for 2 days again.
Wow.
One of the really neat things about the tour is that you're also going to the regions of Vermont who have different specialties and different kinds of businesses and different kinds of farms. And from the very beginning in designing this, we said, how do we connect so that people are getting a hands-on experience? They're getting their hands in the soil. They're seeing people who are driving businesses forward, the creatives that are out there doing really cool stuff. Young people are looking for a sense of place, and Vermont has that. We have also this deep possibility for experiential learning. Each of the schools is leading in that, and together, by connecting to businesses and farms, we're giving this deep tour of the regions and the creative stuff that's going on in each region that will be unique as a course for people from Vermont or from outside of Vermont.
And you touched on something very interesting. You said that the students participating in this will actually get a chance to meet the people who are actually doing this and hear from them.
That's right.
The leaders in Vermont's food systems development.
Yeah, in many ways, sort of it's an a la carte experience, for them, where they're really getting a taste of the expertise at the institutions, and then also getting to meet farmers, processors, distributors, probably going to a slaughterhouse as well, to really understand all the different pieces of the Vermont food system, from the soil to soil all the way through.
The consortium uses this course as something of a spear point for how they collaborate in the future. Mm-hmm. We're working together to say, what's next? How can we take some of this work to scale? But this is really the first time that they've all put together some of their intellectual resources and their place to put a course together online like this. And the consortium is also somewhat unique in the nation. There are very few comparable institutions, and nationally, when we released this process about a year and a half ago, there was lots of national interest. They have a couple of first principles, and one is that Vermont is our classroom. That you think about a closed institution and sitting at a desk, that's not really the future. Students want to connect to the real world, they want to connect to real farmers, they want to connect to the real movement, and this is going to do it. The other thing that they said together at the very start is, Vermont has the opportunity to be the national epicenter for food systems education. Let's seize that. Let's not see this as nice stuff that we could be doing. Let's aim to be the #1 in the nation that is modeling food systems renewal and then taking that to a national audience of students.
So who do you expect will participate in this consortium? Just college students, people who are in the industry who maybe want to see what else is going on? Is it open to anybody?
The summer study tour is, and it's pretty fascinating now, the applicants that we have so far. They're coming from all over the country, both as undergraduate students and also graduate students, and even some who finished graduate school and want to come back because Vermont is doing so much that's unique in terms of this coordinated food systems policy piece. People really want to understand that, and I think that's one of the most interesting things of this. And you could say in some ways this is sort of a parallel but also integrated with the Vermont Farm to Plate strategy, because really what we're talking about is coordinating among institutions of higher education, which doesn't happen often enough. And so we're really capitalizing upon our strengths. We're finding out where our niches are individually and where we all can help each other. This gives us the opportunity really to play together in the same sandbox in a very constructive manner.
And so how does food systems education help support and grow our rural communities?
Well, that's a big one. It's essential. You know, I think a lot of people are looking at how they're going to get involved in this. You know, we've become something like mission central around food systems renewal. Right. The diversity of products that are going forward, the fact that in the last 7 years or so, we've had 4,100 new jobs in food systems in Vermont, that we have one of the most aggressive plans in farm to plate for food systems development, that we have such a strong dairy industry, such a strong sugaring industry. But then we have this plethora of activity around value added today that people have been talking about moving forward for a generation or more, and today we're really seeing it hit the ground. The Working Lands Enterprise Program being part of that through the state to help seed small business development. So we have this great movement right now. We led the Working Lands Council a few years back through the Council on Rural Development, and we saw the need for new investment, and we saw the need to expand to support farm to plate and so forth. But we also saw that Vermont has a story to tell nationally in terms of making a call to the next generation, that our rural communities often lose youth. Our rural communities are looking for economic renewal. These new food systems jobs are part of that. It attracts youth. Let's use our strength and use some of the core that has been so great in Vermont in terms of our brand and our working lands and all the other strengths that we have as our key attractant to creative young people, our own kids, but also kids from across the country who are looking for a center point for this kind of work. And let's give them opportunities, and let's celebrate it. And when you think about that aspect of the food systems movement, you say, who's the best and what's the best system to attract young people here? And it's obviously higher education, because they're the vehicle to reach out to young people nationally. Plus, they give them the practical tools to succeed. In Vermont, you know, running a farm isn't an easy thing to do. It's a business. You've got to really have a sense of how your books are going to work. You have to look at the technologies on the farm. There's an enormous amount of practical knowledge that you need to have, and some of that you pass by, you know, from father to son and so forth. But some of it you need to go to catch the best thinking of the day through higher education. So it all works together as a foundation for the next stage of this movement in Vermont, which is one of the things that makes us most hopeful about the future of rural communities.
It's funny, I interviewed a young woman who's with the UVM CREAM program, who loves it. It's her second year. She's, you know, gung-ho, wants to be, you know, in the dairy industry. And I said, well, where are you from? Figuring, you know, should be from Vermont somewhere. And she said, no, Brooklyn, New York. She said, my parents don't know what I'm doing, but I love it. So if people want to register or learn more about the summer study tour, what should they do?
Yeah, they should go to our website.
They should go to the website, Vermont Food and Farm.
Or VermontFoodEducation.org.
VermontFoodEducation.org.
Right there on your screen.
Yep. They can pull all that up, and they can find the syllabus, the schedule, and at that point they can go ahead, and we'd encourage them to apply as soon as possible, because the slots are filling. And
so how many people is there room for, and what does it cost?
Room for up to 20, and I think the cost is $3,700, and that's comprehensive. So that's the tuition, it's the room, the board, all the meals you get, and there'll be spectacular meals along the way, and that includes the transportation. So, you know, it's a pretty amazing package, really.
Yeah, there's going to be some wonderful places to stay and very interesting experiences at every day on this trip. It's going to be something.
Yeah, I think we wish we could all do it.
Yeah, I would love to do it.
Yeah, me too.
And I think it would be interesting for people, even if you're not going to be doing it, to just check out the website, because when you look at how the days are slotted out perfectly. I mean, there's breakfasts, and then there's the lunch, and then there's syllabus work that has to be done, and then there's you know, education, and then you move to another location. It's really quite comprehensive.
Yeah, I think students would be incredibly lucky to be able to join that. And the mornings very often are lectures and presentations by experts, and the afternoons are out in the field and on the farms and getting to know the people in the landscape. So anybody that gets to do it is going to walk away with an amazing food systems education.
A very unique situation.
Yeah,
it really is.
This has been a wonderful process. We've really appreciated the leadership from Chuck Ross, the Secretary of Agriculture, and the administration, who really important and inspiring in supporting this work. And we also have a new member of the consortium to celebrate, NECI, New England Culinary Institute. So we're now going from soils and from dairy and soils and the different features of each of the schools to some of the top culinary chefs nationally are coming out of that school. Yep. And they're all about Vermont products, sourcing locally, and that taste of place that's so essential to Vermont. So we've really got the whole 9 yards now of food systems leadership, and it's very exciting to work with that group and say, where do we go next? How do we take it to the next scale? It's inspiring, and we're far from done.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking about this.
It's wonderful of you to have us, Judy.
Giving us the opportunity.
Thanks to WCAX.
Sure. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.